The Black Panther Party's newspaper reached 300,000 readers a week by 1970, while J. Edgar Hoover was running a classified program to shut it down. The program failed. What broke the paper was not an FBI raid. It was not an IRS audit. It was not a printer refusing the contract. What broke it was a murder on April 17, 1971, that the standard history of the Black Panther Party almost never names. This is what they built. This is what Hoover had to do to try to stop it. The Black Panther Intercommunal News Service started on April 25, 1967, as two mimeograph sheets stapled together. Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale printed it in response to the police killing of 22-year-old Denzel Dowell in North Richmond, California, a story the mainstream press would not touch. 3,000 copies. Kids from North Richmond distributed them door to door on foot and bicycle. 3 years later, it was the most widely read black newspaper in the United States. The Black Panther Party built a distribution infrastructure that moved the paper through 6 regional centers, San Francisco as the national hub, with operations in Chicago, Kansas City, Los Angeles, New York, and Seattle. They owned the delivery trucks. The trucks were marked with large Black Panther logos on each side. Nobody was hiding what they were delivering. Every Panther was required to read and study the paper before they were allowed to sell it. The paper cost 25 cents. About 12.5 cents of that came back to national headquarters. By 1970, the newspaper was generating $40,000 a month, net. That was the most stable income source the Black Panther Party had. In June 1970, a joint report from the FBI, the CIA, the Defense Intelligence Committee, and the National Security Agency identified the Black Panther Party as the most active and dangerous black nationalist threat to internal security. The report specifically flagged the 150,000 weekly circulation of the Panther newspaper as a concern. The paper kept growing past that number. Hoover had already put his position on the record. On July 15, 1969, United Press International quoted Hoover, saying the Black Panther Party, without question, represents the greatest threat to the internal security of the country. It ran in newspapers from Oakland to Ohio. J. Edgar Hoover had decided the most dangerous organization in America was also running the most widely read black newspaper in the country. COINTELPRO had the paper in its sights from the start. FBI field offices tracked sellers. Panthers were arrested for distributing the paper on street corners, documented repeatedly in contemporaneous reporting. The IRS audited party finances. Agents planted disinformation stories in the mainstream press. The paper survived all of it. If you're not subscribed, do that now, because what happens next is the part the record almost never reaches. Hoover's problem wasn't the printing press. His problem was the distribution network, 6 hubs with a national coordination function running out of San Francisco. The man coordinating that function was named Samuel Lee Napier. Sam Napier was the national distribution captain for the Black Panther newspaper. He was aligned with the party's national leadership, Huey Newton and David Hilliard in Oakland. He ran his operation out of New York City. Andrew Austin and Ellis White worked the national coordination alongside him from San Francisco. If you wanted to understand how its full national circulation of 300,000 weekly readers moved through 6 American cities every week, Sam Napier was the person who knew. COINTELPRO's Black Extremist Files on the Black Panther Party, as revealed through the Hampton versus Hanrahan civil litigation, contained FBI directives to destroy the Free Breakfast for Children program and to disrupt the distribution of the Black Panther Party newspaper. In January 1976, a Justice Department supervisor wheeled shopping carts into a Chicago federal courtroom stacked with almost 200 volumes of FBI files on the Black Panther Party. Attorney Flint Taylor, who tried that case, documented what was in them. 200 volumes. Memos going back to Hoover's August 25, 1967 directive ordering every field office in the country to expose, disrupt, misdirect, discredit, or otherwise neutralize black organizations. And the paper still reached 300,000 readers a week. So COINTELPRO changed its approach. Starting in 1969 and accelerating through 1970, FBI field offices ran a forged letter operation targeting the relationship between the West Coast leadership in Oakland and the East Coast chapters in New York. This was not a new tactic. It was standard COINTELPRO procedure. What made this operation consequential was who they chose to impersonate. Connie Matthews, Huey Newton's personal secretary, based with the international section in Algiers. The FBI sent letters in her name that she never wrote, letters designed to turn existing tensions into open conflict. It is in the FBI's own correspondence files, and it is reported in Joshua Bloom and Waldo Martin's Black Against Empire, which draws on the primary documents. This was happening in the same organization that ran the paper. Eldridge Cleaver led the international section from Algiers. The East Coast Panthers aligned with Cleaver. The West Coast national leadership was Newton and Hilliard in Oakland. By early 1971, those tensions had broken into violence. On March 8, 1971, Eldridge Cleaver aligned New York Panther Robert Webb was shot in the head and killed at the corner of 125th Street and 7th Avenue in Harlem. He was shot in a dispute over newspaper distribution, specifically over who had the right to sell the Black Panther newspaper on that corner. 6 weeks later, on April 17, 1971, assailants entered the headquarters of the Corona, Queens chapter of the Black Panther Party. They found Sam Napier. They shot him 3 times in the back. They tied him to a bed inside the building, gagged him, then shot him 3 times in the head. They set the building on fire. Samuel Lee Napier burned beyond recognition. His body was identified through fingerprints. The Black Panther Party printed a flyer the day his murder was confirmed. It read, "Murdered. Sam Napier, Black Panther Party, Intercommunal News Service, Circulation Manager, murdered by fascists. Revolutionary service scheduled for April 24th. The killers were aligned with the Cleaver faction. Dhoruba bin Wahad, a former New York Panther leader Michael Hill, Eddie Jamal Joseph, and Irving Mason later pled guilty to a reduced charge of attempted manslaughter. The murder that broke the Black Panther newspaper distribution network was not committed by federal agents. It was committed by other Panthers. In a factional war that COINTELPRO's forged letter operation had spent 2 years constructing. Bobby Seale later estimated that in the immediate aftermath of the killings of Robert Webb and Sam Napier, 30 to 40% of Black Panther members left the organization. The New York Times reported in March 1971 that a national review of the party's chapters found it now only a shell of what it was a year ago. The distribution network that Sam Napier's had coordinated across 6 cities, the network generating $40,000 a month, never recovered its operational capacity. Hoover's almost 200 volumes of memos, his street-level arrests of sellers, his IRS audits, his planted disinformation campaigns, none of those stopped the paper. The paper stopped when the man who coordinated the trucks was dead. The paper kept publishing. That part the standard history leaves out. The Black Panther newspaper ran for 9 more years after Samuel Napier's murder, 537 issues total, the last one dated September 16, 1980, when the party formally dissolved. Jonina Abron Irvin served as its final editor. The paper that started as 2 mimeographed sheets in Oakland in 1967 lasted 13 years, through the assassination of Fred Hampton, through the Attica Uprising, through the internal war that killed the man who distributed it. What Hoover's program accomplished was not silence. It was a managed decline, a paper still publishing, but no longer the infrastructure engine that had funded Black Panther operations across 6 American cities. Samuel Lee Napier's name is in Google's knowledge graph. He has a verified entity identifier in the same classification system that YouTube uses to understand what a video is about. He has fewer than 500 YouTube results. No documentary about the Black Panther newspaper has ever built a video around his name. the man who coordinated 300,000 copies of a black weekly through 6 American cities every week, whose murder marked the moment COINTELPRO's 2-year forged letter operation finally succeeded at what almost 200 volumes of conventional counterintelligence could not do. That man is all but invisible in the historical record of the paper he distributed. The FBI could not kill a newspaper, so it destroyed the conditions that kept the newspaper alive. And the specific thing it destroyed was Sam Napier. That's what the documents show. That's what almost 200 volumes of FBI files, a federal civil lawsuit, the church committee's investigation into COINTELPRO, and a murder trial all confirm. If you want to see how the same playbook was used against another part of the Black Panther Party's infrastructure, the next video is already queued. Subscribe so you do not miss it. And if this changed how you understood this story, hit the like button. It's the fastest way to get this in front of people who have never heard Sam Napier's name.